You're listening to Shorr Solutions, the podcast, where our expert consulting team steps behind the mic to share some of the strategies and solutions we implement for aesthetic practices nationwide. With decades of combined experience running and coaching aesthetic and medical practices, we bring you the guidance that strengthens operations, elevates profitability, and supports long-term growth. This is where solutions begin.
Well, hello once again, and welcome to another episode of Shorr Solutions, the podcast, and I'm your host, Jay Shorr. Well, I'm excited because today we are joined by one of Shorr Solutions' full service and brand new clients over the last year. Dr. Yael Myers is an internal medicine physician who has expanded into aesthetics, wellness, and concierge medical care. We've had the opportunity to support Dr. Myers through the process of launching her own practice, from the early planning and decision-making to owning and operating. So Dr. Myers is building a physician-led model that blends traditional medicine with aesthetic treatments, including neurotoxins, dermal fillers, peels, IV vitamin therapy, and her concierge program, Myers Platinum VIP. Dr. Myers' approach focuses on accessibility, personalization, and delivers a more connected patient experience. So welcome, Dr. Yael Myers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Today, we are also joined by Rachel Miara, who just happens to be Dr. Myers' daughter. However, she is the patient concierge and acts as backup administrator. I've had the pleasure of working with both Dr. and Rachel through the course of this whole startup, coming from another practice, which we'll speak about. And I always say, everybody needs a Rachel. Now, patients need a Dr. Myers, but we need a Rachel.
It's great to be here.
So let's get to it. So when we decided that we were going to work together, Dr. Myers, let's explain this journey. You had worked for a very well-known medical group. It's a Shorr Health Institute in Hollywood, Florida, and you had been there for some time. Just share with me what led you to leave and pursue ownership.
Well, actually, it was a variety of things, but essentially, let's call it timing. I had an amazing experience working with Shorr, with Dr. Shorr and at Shorr Health. I had many years of practice there. I enjoyed working with the staff and making great connections with my patients, many of whom had come from my prior practice. What happened was, because ultimately I didn't own that practice, I made the decision to become autonomous and take more agency over my career.
Was there a specific moment, an aha moment, when you realized that you wanted more control over your career and your income? And what factors that happened that gave you that decision to finally just make that phone call to Shorr Solutions?
So I don't think it was a moment. It was a few weeks at the end of the first year that we were in Hollywood. And I was kind of taking stock of the year and wasn't as pleased with the conditions under which I was working. And financially, physically, there were several reasons. And it was about 6 weeks. And then suddenly inside of me, I really felt that the time was right, now or never, and it's never too late. And that the year of 2025 was going to be the year that I was going to create Myers Medical.
Okay. So let's jump to Rachel for a second. So Rachel, you were on the inside. You never were a part of that because you weren't a part of the other physician-led practice that Dr. Myers was with. When this dialogue happened, what did you feel? Because you later joined the practice, like right from the very beginning. But how did you feel about this?
In all honesty, I really always wanted Dr. Myers to go on her own and see what that would be like, because I felt that as the doctor and the leader of her own practice, she could really put into action the vision that she had always had for her patients and for herself, and that it would be great. I was on board from day one.
We have a whole lot of questions to ask you. So let's start it out this way, Dr. Myers. What was your expectation going into this process versus what the reality is?
Well, that's a great question. I knew that there was so much I didn't know. And so that, I think, really did set me up for success, because I gave myself a lot of grace because what I did know was the medicine and the patient care, patient management. I had many, many years of that, like over a quarter century. But what I didn't know was how to create the business, how to operate the business, how to finance the business, none of that. But I said, okay, that's going to be a new skill set. I'm going to take it day by day, week by week, month by month. And of course, I found you and Shorr Solutions. So that was a big win for me. And I was able to consult with you with some of the major decisions. So I would say that's my secret.
Now, we went through many processes before you got to where you are today. First, we were going to be part of a larger group, and then we decided, no, that wasn't going to work because reimbursements and things like that. And then we went and decided we wanted this location. You had to have this location. There was no location that was better than the one, and that fell through. And guess what? You found the home that you're in right now.
Totally.
Very, very close to where you were, but we went through, I'll bet, close to a year of lease negotiations and things like that. So what surprised you most about opening your own practice that you didn't think you would run upon?
Well, one of the things that really did surprise me is how it did work. I mean, I knew that I had a very good relationship with my patients and that most of them would follow me. But I really, once it started happening and I was seeing my old patients in my new location and they were satisfied and I was, and the staff, and I had a beautiful staff and everything was running, I honestly there was a little shock or surprise in a positive way, let's say. What else? I would say the financing, which can be a little nerve-wracking for me, was also a surprise that it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought I was going to be really very nervous to finance the operation. And in fact, it's just part of the everyday business.
Well, the main difference is you already had been an established physician. You had already financially been okay, unlike a lot of the younger physicians that we help. This is our fourth one that we're going through right now in a startup at the same time. And most of them are younger physicians. They don't have the experience and certainly don't have the financial resources that you do. Therefore, your financing was an easier process than many of the others. So, Rachel, let me ask you, what were some of the things that you didn't expect? Because let me make a caveat here is I deal with a lot of people, and working with the medical portion of a business with a physician is much easier. And then you were like a brand new employee to me. Forget about the relationship that you have with the doctor, but you have a very strong relationship with the business side and the personal side of the business. Because for the people that are listening out here, Rachel is not the administrator, but she kind of is. She ends up going above and beyond, and Rachel is the one that's in vendor management and helps with the negotiating and the purchasing, and that's usually an administrator's function. But Rachel has a future as a provider in mental health, but I'll see if we can convince her to be a full-time administrator in the practice, because I think she could do a much better job, because you're going to need to be a mental health counselor in the practice too, Rachel. All right, that just happens. So what was your biggest shock to getting to where you are today, even though it's only been a couple of months now since we're formally open?
Well, in general, I've been very good at being organized and with my time management. But I did find that with all that there is to do on the back end of creating a business, there's really a lot that you have to do. There are a lot of levels, federal, state taxes and certifications, and there's a lot of people that you need to deal with and a lot of vendors, as you mentioned. So I find that it was another level of organization and time management that I needed to kind of reach. And I think I've been getting there and learning a lot along the way. And yeah, gaining a lot of skills.
So Rachel mentioned a very big word that you hear Jay say all the time in every speech when I open up every lecture at a conference, and you called it a business. I thought it was a medical practice, but here's where and what I say. Medicine's a science. Medicine is a way to keep us looking young and healthy. It's one of the most respected professions today, but never lose sight that medicine is truly a business, and we have to treat it like the business it is. It is a business that none other provides services, none other than medicine. But it's a business. And now that you're venturing into the aesthetic side, which is not insurance related business, it's an even a bigger business than what it was because there's also going to be retail. So, what part of the process was more involved than you anticipated? I'll start with Dr. Myers, and then, of course, I'd love to hear it from Rachel as well, because I want to hear the medicine side. I want to hear the angst. I want to hear the jubilation, but I want to also hear what were you anticipating? What was more involved than you thought? So, Dr. Myers, let's hear it from you first to start.
Well, so of course I'm at the office seeing patients, and that didn't change. But add to that was the administration, the financing, and the organizational tasks that I took on. So I took on like 50% more work. I knew I was going to do it. But so I'm navigating a lot of ups and downs during the day and during the week. Which is actually kind of exciting for me because I had been doing the same thing in the same place for many, many years. So this is actually, my days look different and I'm happy about it, to be honest. Like I said, a new skill set for me.
All right.
Okay.
And Rachel, how about you? What, in your words, what was more involved than you really anticipated?
There are so many things that go into a medical practice and a business. And when you combine the two, it's especially true. So dealing with things like a CLIA laboratory waiver, that's something that you needed to be able to draw blood and have specimens and collect stuff like that. Having that and a global location number and dealing with the fire department. And it's a lot of different paperwork and things that you have. But also the hiring was very involved. We went through a lot of different trials and tribulations to get to the team that we have now, which is truly, truly excellent. And our patients, agree with us when they come into the office. But that was definitely one of the more involved parts of starting this whole thing.
So your most important resource outside of Dr. Myers is the human resource. They will make or break your business. All right. And I hope that your comment will hold true the next time we do this. All right. And a year and 2 and 3 from now, because human resources is the toughest thing to handle in a business. So how did you navigate decisions like location, lease negotiations, and financing? The reason I'm laughing, Dr. Myers, you and I went through a lot of pain. All right. And we went through a lot of legal. And we went through a lot of corporate. And of course, when you're dealing with big entities, you have lease negotiations and you have attorneys and you have attorneys on your side. And then in that situation, Dr. Myers, you had us. So we're helping you to negotiate the lease, standing in your shoes. But what did you find how you navigated decisions like the location, the lease negotiations, and then, of course, the financing?
Well, the location for me was an interesting decision because I knew I wanted to be in Aventura. I had been practicing in Aventura for 10 years before we moved for a couple years to Hollywood, and I live in Aventura. And many of my patients, I would say my major patient base is in Aventura. I hadn't originally wanted to be on the campus of the hospital, but it turned out to be a win for me because the rent prices were actually pretty reasonable, and I wanted to get back into some collegial relationships. So this place kind of fell into my lap after a couple fell through, and I do feel like that was kind of a blessed place because came as is, but beautiful, and it had my color scheme. It had the space I want, the number of exam rooms I wanted, and the light that I really wanted. So I knew I could create my dream, the dream that I envisioned in this space. And then the negotiations, I was just rolling with the punches, honestly, because I have a lot of fortitude inside of me and I just was drawing upon it. I had you guys, I had a couple lawyers. I have among my 10,000 patients or so, a few real estate attorneys. So I handed them the lease and they looked at it and this and that. So, and then the financing, I'm super blessed because I'm not, I'm a seasoned physician. I have been earning all along and saving my pennies. And I was able to draw upon some wealth I had so that I didn't have to go into any debt in order to really realize the opening of Myers Medical. That's a real blessing. But, it comes with the age, of course.
But it still gives you angst every time you have to make a draw on the loan, right?
Yes, Jay, it does. As well, I feel like it ought to because, this is hard-earned income, very hard-earned.
I have a favorite expression. Nothing comes in on time or on budget. And when I say that to a brand new client, they look at me and I see the angst in their eyes. And then 3 months, 6 months, a year later, when I mention that again, we all start laughing. They said, yeah, you did tell us that, Jay. You did tell us that. So, Rachel, what was more, of a hard part of the journey? The mental, the financial, the operational issues, the medical, I'm not going to ask you, but how about the mental? Because you saw it from your end. You saw it from Dr. Myers' end.
Definitely the operational pressures were a lot, but I would definitely have to say that the mental pressures were probably the biggest, especially in the first few months of conceptualizing Myers Medical and really executing what Dr. Myers' vision is, dealing with, my own thoughts about the practice and hers, and having just through a lot of conversations, we really had to lift each other up and continue to believe in this practice. And we're here on the other side of opening, and it's wonderful and better than we could have expected.
Well said.
Music to my ears. I said, Dr. Myers, everybody needs a Rachel. I love the fact that to hold each other up, because there are times when you go through this process, and I went through it myself when I opened up my consulting company. Why don't I either just go out and get a job and get a guaranteed pay versus maybe not making any money for it first, because the first people to be paid is the staff. And as a business owner, you're the last to be paid. All right. But, navigation through this journey is an amazing thing. So, Dr. Myers, how did you handle the financial issues that were coming upon you, or the hardest part of it every time you had to draw money? Because, look, it's not free. And I want everybody listening out there to understand how you feel then and how you feel now that patients are coming in the door.
Well, definitely I could tell the difference when there's more, the money is flowing a little more versus a little less. I mean, it's not even that subtle at times. I can tell that the conversation inside my head is much more free and easy when there's more patients, for example, on the schedule, or we have some aesthetic clients, or there's more concierge patients signing, which we've had an influx of concierge, and that's good for the business. And then my mind opens up and I start having a larger vision, and I start asking myself, okay, what's going to be the next step and what can that look like? Whereas when I see maybe a 3/4 schedule, or if my nurse practitioner isn't so busy, my vision gets a little dimmer, and I hunker down and start thinking, okay, where can I squirrel away some pennies and things like that? It's navigating the ups and downs of a business, which is something I had done before, and frankly, it's exciting.
So the best hint I can give you is to enjoy the moments of being slow with the patients. All right, you're just opening up a brand new business. Many of the people have followed you. But now we're looking to enjoy more of a market share in the Aventura and surrounding areas, plus a lot of the membership in the concierge. While you have that limited amount of free time, I know you're working on it with Rachel and the operational administrative issues, but relax and enjoy it, because when they start running through your door and you don't have a moment to rest, you're going to say, boy, I wish I had a couple of those moments a year or two ago. That's when it's time that we recruit the next provider, whether it is another nurse practitioner like Neely, or whether it's going to be another physician. All right. Because at this point in your career, we're planning to grow the practice and have others do the work, so we'll plan on a succession plan and an exit strategy. Now, I know we're speaking about opening the business, so why are we speaking about an exit strategy and a succession plan? Because people ask me every day, when should I start thinking about a succession plan and an exit strategy? My answer is quite simple. The moment you start thinking about it is when you should start thinking about it. All right. Even I am thinking about my exit strategy, succession plan, but I have a plan and I've already started executing that plan with my team. And it's a very exciting moment. So already you've been practicing internal medicine, family practice type of medicine for all of these years. And now all of a sudden we open up and now we're looking into expanding our business because we have another practitioner, a nurse practitioner that can handle more. And so can Dr. Meyer. So let's get right to it because, as you know, Shore Solutions, we really specialize in the aesthetics. We have allergists, we have internal medicine, we have family practice as well, but aesthetics is really what we specialize in. So, my question is what led you to even incorporate the fact and the thought of aesthetics in your practice model at this young juncture?
Thank you for that. Well, for me, it was a natural extension. First of all, I am skilled, qualified, and I've learned injections, Botox, fillers. I did have a couple years where Dr. Sofer and I had been practicing some aesthetics. We opened Sofer Aesthetics, but right at the beginning of COVID. It opened February of 2020. So, we had a few years that we were open and then we basically let it go and went on to other ventures. So Myers Medical, when I was conceiving it, it had already aesthetics in it because it's something that I appreciate and it's something that I do. I also get some aesthetic services. And so for me, health is health and health is internal medicine, anything that's, let's say, not surgical. It's emotional health, it's mental health, it's physical health. So I'm doing it. My friends are doing it. My patients are doing it. And why not offer it in my office? It's health.
Your consultant does it.
Your consultant does it. Yeah, exactly. So it was a natural extension for me.
Great. Rachel, this question is for you. How do you see internal medicine and aesthetics working together? This is more from the business side, not necessarily the medical side, because in my former practice, we incorporated both. We had dermatology, and it was an easy transition for us because derm has a very easy segue into aesthetics. What is your vision of how you see internal medicine and aesthetics working together?
Yeah. So we and the nurse practitioner, Neely, and I and myself and Dr. Myers have this conversation all the time. And we really feel that internal medicine is an inside out deal. So when you feel good and you look on the outside, all the stars align. And we are passionate about offering that in our office as sort of a one-stop shop where you can come and know that you're being taken care of, that your physical well-being and your whatever aesthetic services that you'd like to get. We really are happy to offer that for our patients and make them feel good inside and out.
So your goal was to take care of the people from the inside out, and now
So,
you want to incorporate looking it from the outside in.
yeah.
It's great. So we go full circle. It's wonderful because you already have a potential patient base, but now you're incorporating the aesthetics. How do you transition in that other than the insurance to a cash based business? Because you do have somewhat of a cash based business already in your membership program.
Right.
All right. So how do you feel that the patient base is going to adopt and or incorporate the aesthetic side?
Well, our patients, we're lucky to have many thousands of patients and they do trust us, which is nice. And so that trust factor, which is a big commodity, we're now letting them know through our marketing, which is various and sundry, that we're offering the aesthetic services and IV vitamin infusions, and we already have been doing weight loss. So now that we show them that we're providing this service, which is physician supervised, and Neely Siegel, who's expert at injecting and all the aesthetics that we're offering, it's something that we can with confidence say that they're going to have a good outcome and a safe outcome, and that we offer branded products because even with the weight loss, I never offer anything except the branded weight loss. So when we're offering neurotoxin or filler or whatever it may be, it's going to be the branded. It's not going to be off market, black label, anything.
Great. You mentioned one word, and I like to put quotation marks around that one word that you mentioned, and it was called with confidence. There's nothing better than doing something from the start with confidence. All right. And sometimes when I look at struggles of how we're going to get a business started, I really sit back and I laugh because I look at Rachel, who does everything with confidence, whether she has that confidence or not. From external side and point of view, it just gets done. So, ladies and gentlemen out there that are listening, if you have a manager or administrator, just get it done. Let's just use the Nike, just do it. It's not going to get done. Not everything that Rachel does gets done immediately at the moment she makes a phone call. You may have to follow up, but she takes a lot of that angst away from Dr. Myers. Everyone's not fortunate enough because we have a couple of clients that are going through this, as I said before, and it's between them and us that have to get these things done. There isn't another intermediary yet because we have not yet hired that administrator. So, Dr. Myers, let me share with you with confidence, it's a lot easier when you have somebody who's got your back 100% of the time. You may not always agree, but you make your final decisions with confidence. And I like that word. Dr. Myers, why do you believe that a physician led aesthetic service practice is important in today's market? Because I'm sure you see a lot of these med spas and you don't even know who or if there's a doctor involved.
That's exactly right.
So why do you feel that the physician-led is important?
Well, as I said before, the physician-led aesthetic model is, for me, the one that you can trust the most because you've got the skill set, you've got the product, and you've got the safety, all of which are equally important. So you want a good outcome. You want to look beautiful. You want to, then you're going to feel beautiful. You want to make sure that you have the top line product. And then if God forbid something goes wrong, you want to make sure that there's a physician there to help you solve the problem.
Or at least understand what the problem is.
Well, diagnose you. Exactly.
That's one thing, but treating it and managing it are others. All right. Yeah, that's great because I see that all the time. I want to get to something that I find very exciting. And that is your patient experience with a concierge model. I remember many, many years ago that came out, it was MDVIP, and they were the king and the queen of this model. And then people got smart and they said, let me try this on our own. It doesn't have to be as grandiose. We don't want any technical things. We don't want any of the problems. We'll just offer memberships because memberships are huge. And they're very big in these aesthetics models today, not just on the concierge model of membership for the VIP or the internal medicine family practice side, but wait, we're going to have memberships in aesthetic services too. So what is your vision, Dr. Myers, behind the quote unquote Myers Platinum VIP program?
So Myers Platinum is my concierge program that I offer to the patients that feel that they want more direct, more immediate service. It's for people that really don't want to wait. They want my attention now. They want to be seen now. And they want, let's say, their medications or their needs to be, they have more immediate needs or more urgent needs for them. It's also somewhat of a security blanket for people that, that they want to become a concierge patient in case something happens to them. And they know that I have access to a very strong network of referral sources, and I can get them into the surgeon or the specialist, same day, next day type of thing when the waiting time is 6 months. So these are for people that really want that level of service.
Don't the patients that aren't on that concierge membership model still want that same service but don't want to pay for it?
I suppose they do.
Yeah, they do.
I suppose that they do.
We all do.
With thousands of patients,
Yeah, I understand.
it's virtually impossible to help every single one get into all these places and have all their needs met on an immediate basis.
So give me three things that you just mentioned, all right, that how your concierge model changes the patient experience, because the experience is everything to me. When I go to a restaurant and I spend a considerable amount of money, even if I take guests with me, when I leave, the food is gone. All I have left is the experience. If it was a great experience, I'm coming back. If it was not a great experience, regardless of what it cost me, I'm not coming back. All right. So, how does your concierge model change the experience? And what do you want patients to feel differently when they come to see Dr. Myers?
Okay, so I had a great example of a patient, an established patient who had means and was thinking about joining the concierge for quite some time and finally decided to join. And she came for her physical and she had some concerns about her diagnoses that were already established. And she gave her blood and her annual physical. And the next day I called her with the results and we discussed everything. And she said, wow, this is what was missing was the service because I was there the next day it wasn't like a week from the physical exam and she was hearing it from the medical assistant. She was hearing it from me. She was able to ask back and forth questions. She had an extended visit from her annual basically. So it was the service. And she said, I'm just used to good service. So that's one good example of the experience.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. That's great. It's great. However, if you have a patient that is not a membership concierge patient, aren't they going to get that same service?
Yeah. So really the bulk of our practice, and I mean 98% of our practice is insured patients. So they're not part of our concierge program. But
Not
really
yet.
not yet. Yeah. But really all of our patients feel the love and they're all taken care of. And there are no emergencies in internal medicine. So for those that are interested in signing up for our Myers Platinum program, they feel the immediacy of our care in terms of getting a same day or next day appointment, a little bit of a longer appointment. There are all kinds of other benefits like waived fees, even when it comes to our aesthetic offerings that we offer. And we have a concierge liaison, also known as me, and I'm the first point of contact for our patients who need to get into the office, who need a referral coordinated, medical records requested, and then, of course, everything medical, I defer to her or they get in touch with her directly.
Everybody needs a Rachel. Didn't I say this in the beginning? I said it in the middle. I say it again. All right. That's the relative importance because not everybody has a Rachel or whatever name you want to put to that. A lot of times we have to navigate until we're able to find somebody that we are comfortable with that has the same vision as the owner of the practice. Forget about the familial relationship. Many times that only enhances and makes it stronger. All right. Sometimes it doesn't. And that has to end as well. So, Dr. Myers, let's talk about working with guidance and building the right foundation. So, what was it that made you decide to bring in support rather than navigate this alone? And how did having this guidance impact your decisions with confidence? Because not everybody wants to make that investment. It is not an inexpensive investment to have somebody in your corner to help you navigate this.
Well, actually, that was a very special moment because it was a couple months into the endeavor after I decided I'm gonna open on my own, and I was already starting to think about where I wanted to open and the staff I was gonna hire and this kind of thing, and then I realized I cannot do this alone. I realized I cannot do this alone. And it was a weekend. And I said, there's got to be a specialist, an expert, a professional that does this. So I reached out to an accountant patient that I had talked to, and she had mentioned you. And I emailed her on a Sunday, and she answered me on that Sunday and gave me your contact information. And I went on your website, and I'm like, this is perfect. Monday morning, I was already calling. And it was like, it really was a moment. That was. And so I had you, and for me, it's priceless. It's priceless because there were moments during this process that I fell into some doubt. And I remember saying to you or asking you one time, Jay, are we still in the right direction? And you said, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, those moments alone are priceless where you could say, I've got you.
If I was writing it on paper, I would write it as moment, parenthesis with an S. There was a moment, there were moments. I recall it. It was in several stages. The lease negotiation, it was worrying and thinking about joining a large group on your own with under their billing. And that was angst. And it didn't come through the way we thought it would come through. We're negotiating. We had so much data that we had to give them and we weren't hearing in time. And then I had to say, look, either you're going to do this or we're out of here. And then you had angst.
No, what happened was at the very last moment, we were waiting to hear if they would allow me to do concierge. And I already had a small but growing population of concierge patients. And you said to me, what are you going to do if they don't allow you to continue with concierge? And I said, I'd pull the plug. And in fact, surprisingly, they said, we'd love to have you. And they had already credentialed me on their plans, but not with concierge.
Yeah.
So you said, okay, what's plan B? You always have to have a plan B, Dr. Myers. So I said, let's pivot.
I always have a backup plan in everything I do because then you're in this purgatory. You don't know what to do when what you planned on didn't work. So where do you think most physicians struggle when they try to do this on their own?
I think most physicians probably get caught up in their ego. They know the medicine really well, and it's a hard skill set to learn. It really, really is. And I give physicians a lot of credit, and I always defend physicians. But when it comes to business and venturing out and working in the community with non-physicians, they get kind of entangled with their ego, and it's difficult for them to defer to other specialists, other professionals to help them realize their vision. You see, I really do think that that's the case.
As long as physicians understand that other people outside of their industry as professional licensed physicians are also professionals. All right. And you're correct because in our clients and with you, I have never felt, and we have our entire team on your account for different things. All right. So there is so much to do. It's tough. And when you have an ego, you always think that your way is better than the other way. And I always say to somebody, if that's the way you feel, don't hire somebody then, because you're going to constantly fight and nothing's going to get done. Hire somebody that can bring the facts to you and make your life easier. Don't hire somebody. I mean, Steve Jobs said it perfectly. Don't hire people and tell them what to do. Hire people and have them tell you how and what to do. And I do that with my team. My team shares with me a lot of what and how we should do things. They never tell me what to do. They offer many suggestions because they bring me the facts. I roll with it. My team knows, don't come with an opinion, come with the facts. It's just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. It brings us back to old Sergeant Joe Friday days with Dragnet, right? Just the facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
All right. So let's wrap this up as we look ahead. Now that you're open and you're operating, what are your top priorities?
Well, my top priorities will always be patience, patient care, patient satisfaction. But I'm going to add to that priority my own enthusiasm, because basically that's what I'm doing with this new venture. I'm getting back into my own game. I'm taking agency over my experience, my career, and my future. So they're both there.
Not curb your enthusiasm. All right.
Will not.
The enthusiasm, it's what jumps and makes you get ahead faster than if not. Because even when things aren't perfect, all right, they're moving forward. Rachel, what are your top priorities now that you're open and operating?
My top priority is definitely to support Dr. Myers. This is truly a family business, and I'm here to support her and all of the back end stuff that really just takes a lot of time and energy, and that really I'm into and I'm having fun with. But I have to, of course, mention doing things the right way, correctly, making sure that the business runs smoothly is definitely a top priority for me. And that's why I so much love to have you, Jay, and your team to defer to and to ask questions and get guidance from to make sure that this is working. And it really is.
So I want to reiterate what Rachel said. She mentioned something, and it's not that we are her boss. We're not her manager, not now, not ever, but we're a coach. And we don't tell anybody what to do. We offer multiple suggestions because I may offer one suggestion. Nan and Paige and Christian and Anna, they'll come in and offer another suggestion. We had one recently, was a formatting, on your marketing. I had one opinion. Everybody loved that, but the rest of the team came back and said, yes, and we need to do this. That's because even my team members have other and different visions than me. They agreed with me. I hit the preliminary, and then they took over after that. And that's what a team and a coach is all about. So, Doctor, what are you most focused on in this first year? Now, I want to say first year of the practice being open because we're upon our first year of actually working together. And it took a very, very long time to get to where we are, only because there were obstacles and stuck in the way. However, for those of you listening, Dr. Myers had something that many of you may not have. And that was the opportunity to still work until the very end where she was at this very large health institute, all right, while we were doing everything on the back end. And what was the beauty behind it is that the owner of the health institute really wished Dr. Myers the best. I give a shout out to Dr. Ari Sofer. I want to mention him because he was a big part of this journey. He was not an obstacle. He didn't stand in Dr. Myers' way. He had her back, and we still do work together, and there's a great referral system back to each other. So once again, thank you, Dr. Sofer, for working with Dr. Myers and giving her your blessing. It really means a lot. For both of you, Dr. Myers and Rachel, what advice would you give to other physicians going out on their own?
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
So this is Dr. Nike. Just do it.
Do it, but don't do it alone.
Don't do it alone.
And don't do it alone. Don't get stuck in your ego. You know medicine. Other people know other things.
Did you have any drawback in, oh my goodness, I'm going to hire a consultant or a practice management, executive management team, and that is a severe investment, right? However, you're hiring a team. So your investment has multiple people, and we meet every week and we discuss everything that goes on every week. But beyond every week that we speak in our guaranteed meetings, we also have dozens of emails that go back and forth, even throughout a day, all right, about assisting on something or correcting on something. Beyond do it, how would you tell a doctor or anybody not to worry about what the investment is in hiring a third party to help you there?
Well, it's exactly what it is. It's an investment, which will come back to you, triple, quadruple, quintuple fold. You do it right the first time, you do it right, and it's the quickest way to success. It's an investment in success. I actually really never thought twice after I knew that I needed an expert. I didn't think twice about having the Shorr Solutions team on my side. I thought of it as almost like a necessity because I knew that there was a lot that I didn't know.
Rachel, from a management and an administrative point of view, what was your initial thought and concern to where it is now about having a third party that was taking a sizable investment out of Dr. Myers' pocket?
When I first heard about it, I was definitely, I think I would say I was neutral. I'm the kind of person that kind of feels like I can do everything on my own, which I know is not true. And I feel the same for Dr. Myers because I know really how good of a doctor she is, but it's true. She doesn't know, and I didn't and sort of still don't know all that there is to know about business, of course. But having a team like, you and Shorr Solutions is so beneficial because if I have a question about the legal side, I'll come straight to you, or the design, I'll come, to Paige, who's really, really wonderful at all of that. And it's so it's so great to have Nan, who had a practice, what she managed. So I get so many different points of view from so many different experts in the field. And we all come together and we discuss and decide what's the best way to move forward. And that's really, really, really just invaluable.
Let me interject. The way that I work in my head with Shorr Solutions, for example, right where we are right now, we're seeing our internal medicine patients, we've increased our concierge service a lot and our IV vitamin infusion. We're still doing weight loss. And now the aesthetics is getting started. And soon enough, the aesthetics is going to be rolling and we're going to have a lot of happy and beautiful patients. In my mind, the next step is hiring another either nurse practitioner or physician assistant. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting for a certain amount of time until aesthetics gets rolling. And then in my head, I'm going to bring that to our Wednesday meeting. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm ready to hire my next provider. Okay. And then we'll talk about it. So it's not like I'm going at it alone. I have this whole team and a team of experts, including Rachel, including Jay and the whole team. And we'll all discuss. Okay. So tell me, Dr. Myers, what do you think? Okay. Now, Jay, what do you think? And people give their opinions and then it's created that way. It's really lovely.
All right. Well, in wrapping up, I would really like to thank Dr. Yael Myers and Rachel Miara, all right, for taking time out of their busy schedule and sharing a part of their morning with me so we could really hear about the start of a practice, where we are now, and the visions for the future. This is an exciting time for me because I love watching practices grow from the very, very beginning. And we're going to use Myers Medical in Aventura, Florida, as one of our proteges as we're going forward. There is so much more to come. We look forward to it. And ladies and gentlemen, we will have Rachel and Dr. Myers on again just to track their success in the future. So once again, thank you for listening to another episode of Shorr Solutions, the podcast. I'm your host, Jay Shorr. Good luck and God bless.
Before you go, new episodes are released every 2 weeks, offering perspective on the decisions, systems, and leadership behind well-run practices. For continued insight between episodes, follow us on social media at Shorr Solutions. This is Shorr Solutions.